Hello and welcome to another episode of 10,000 Hours and Counting, the spiritual support podcast. And I'm here joined today in conversation by two of my dear friends, Melanie and Natalie. And it's the Aussie contingent today. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Hello.
So, as always, I tune in, I get the idea of what to talk about for a different podcast, and then I reach out. So, the idea I had today came to me with the word of alignment on the path. And I sent these ladies a message and I had said, I'm just going to read it out because it amused me before, because now where I'm coming from is a bit different from that, and I can't get into my phone, never mind. But the idea of alignment, and I was saying, what is alignment? I said, what is alignment with the soul on the journey, and what is the beauty and the truth of the light worker's path? But when I've been in reflection on alignment for myself this morning, I realized I need to talk about the other side of alignment, of where you know that the situation you're in has been divinely orchestrated by your guides, by the universe, and you're having a bit of an issue with, this is harder than I thought it would be. How do I stay in alignment with this situation that I can feel and know is for my growth? So we are going to talk about alignment today on the spiritual path. And I'm sure Melanie and Natalie will have different things to say, but it just amused me that I put it out there. And then I came up with like the shadow side of it. So that's always the path and the journey. So let's talk about this alignment on the spiritual path. What does it mean to each of you? And is there anything you'd like to share to help the listeners with this concept? Oh, Melanie, do you want to start? I haven't had two guests before. It's very exciting. I mean,
I wasn't too sure how. I was like, "Oh, hang on, we've got
see her face. She was all ready to go. Yes.
Well, it's interesting. Alignment for me, as I was mentioning, I've thought about this a little bit, between the personality self and the soul self. And I feel that does play a part. I've had a recent experience, and I'm happy to share this, where I was pulled towards my personality self, and maybe it was my soul, into a particular role. But once I was actually in this role, it felt very not aligned, let's just say, quite quickly. And I suppose I was asking myself, what's happening here? What's this for? But then I stayed in it for as long as I possibly could. And there was too much happening, I suppose, on the external level for me to be able to continue in the role. But I felt afterwards there was obviously a reason that I was actually drawn into this particular arena, because now, I'm actually utilizing what I've actually learned from that experience in my current role moving forward. So even though it felt completely misaligned, there was a form of alignment there for my soul and my soul's journey, and my soul's growth too, which I wasn't able to see at the time. And I'm just beginning to understand that now. And that's taken several months after the fact, because that happened quite a few months ago. So yeah, that's what come up for me when you were talking about alignment. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been in a space of misalignment quite severely. It was quite a severe experience, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Physically, emotionally, spiritually and mentally, on all levels, actually. Yeah.
And can I ask you, what helped you to keep going when you were in the throes of that situation? And, as friends, we were chatting, we knew you were there. And part of you thought, this is not the misalignment, not working out the way I thought, but you knew there was a certain point you kept going, you sort of dug in. Can you share a bit about what was it that kept you going, and then what helped you to realize unplug? But it's just helpful for people to know. Sometimes it's the friction that is the growth, but what did you dig on for yourself and your resources to not just go, you know what, pack it in?
Mm, that's an interesting question. I feel I was telling myself, I was actually, talking to my spiritual team too, and I was getting that sense, keep showing up, keep turning up, and be open. So that was what I was initially sort of responding to, and to not sort of fall into the trap of complete fear and just to eject almost straight away. It was like, no, keep showing up, keep being open. So I spent a lot of time in contemplation with my guides, and also doing some journaling, and also quite a bit of meditation helped, because my physical symptoms, were there too. Like, I was actually quite hyper aroused. So I had to have some practices that I call upon: mindfulness, and also some breathing techniques that I needed to utilize just to be fully present in the experience, not what my mind was telling me the experience was going to be or what was going to unfold. So those practices that I've utilized over quite a few years have helped me enormously. And also I knew that I was being protected by my guides, and I did a lot of protective work there too to show up each day. So it was sort of a combination of practices that helped me to keep turning up and just be open to what was unfolding rather than letting my fear overpower me, because that was definitely there.
Yeah.
So I knew that it was, not aligned, but I knew I had to sort of keep showing up as well, sort of continue in the unknown. Yeah. Until it became clear, okay, this is not going to be, tenable anymore, because I actually ended up with an infection and being quite unwell. So there was some stronger signs there that I thought, and also what was happening in the actual facility as well. So yeah.
Mm. And it is I guess, a lesson of discernment and also experience in your life where, we're talking about this now. You might be listening at home and you think, well, I'm in this situation. Like, do I keep pushing or do I not? And that is about sort of your own soul experience and learning. Sometimes you maybe in the past, I've stayed somewhere maybe longer than I needed to because it was just wanting to have the willingness to be in alignment with the soul. And as you said, not just push the eject button, but just to encourage anybody, you don't need to be there like sticking your feet to the flames, as it were, but it is important to find a balance between the human part that says, I don't want any difficulty. I don't really want that at all. I just want everything to be, awesome. And the
Mm,
part that says, you know what, I understand this is soul tempering. So that's what you said. You've just leaned into it until it became obvious to you. And again, this is going to be personal experience, but it's just giving us a permission to say it doesn't always need to be roses to mean that it's actually important for my soul's growth.
And the other aspect of that, just when you mentioned that too, I could have easily fell into the mind, talking and sort of jumping back to past experiences, thinking, oh, have I learned? Have I progressed? Wait a minute, I'm back here again. You know what I mean? Like, but trying to see it as this is an experience that's happening now, and there is something that is really important for me to really, learn and sort of to grow from. I was sort of battling that sort of stuff too. Wait a minute, have I been here before? Alignment or misalignment. Yeah, I felt that before, but then I was like, oh, have I sort of progressed? And that's what, is difficult too.
Yeah.
It's not sort of a straight line. It's definitely spirals, of growth. Mm,
Spirals of growth.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nat, can I open it to you? What would you say about anything that we've just said so far, or what alignment means for you? I also want to drop this little nutshell of the body, of how your body helps you to stay in alignment, because I know Melanie said she said in the past that her body would signal to her, get out, you know, and maybe we don't always listen. So what would you want to say to everybody about alignment and how it serves you on the spiritual path?
Well, it's funny that when you mentioned the topic alignment, and it's like, yes, you can feel, like I can always feel. I'm a very feeling type person, so I can always feel when I'm in alignment. You think, yeah, this feels right, even if it is a bit difficult, even if it is a bit challenging, it's not too comfortable. It's like I know on some level, and whether it's for to progress to evolve within myself in some shape or form, or to take a learning or whatever it may be, it feels right. And then all of a sudden it's like I went through this like mad scientist phrase the last couple of days ago, but there's so many offshoots to alignment, because it really, for me, I'm like, when I'm in alignment, I trust, have that inner trust that really is strong. I've also got that discernment as well, and that strong sense of like, you know what, even if my choice impacts someone else, that it means that then it makes something harder for them. Say, like if you're in a job or what have you, and it means that, okay, me leaving, me doing what's right for my soul
Mm.
is going to put someone in a position where you go, oh, that means that I have to then go and find someone else or train someone else, whatever it may be. So it has that bit of uncomfortableness or difficulty for them. Doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's like staying that true to my own path to go like, I need to do what's right for me.
Mm.
And so I find with alignment, yeah, it's not necessarily always nice. And I think, like, in some, like, if you sort of go into the spiritual bypass, and a lot of people be like, oh yes, I'm aligned and I feel so great and I'm getting all these downloads from above, and you go, oh yeah, great, love it. And you know what, when that does happen, amazing. But you know, a lot of times as well, it can be in that times where you go, oh, it means that I have to make those decisions that are best for me, still being kind, still having that compassion, but serving myself and putting myself, you know, first in a sense, so that I can like live my true path. So it's not always comfortable, but you know, and I have had to learn over the years that it's definitely necessary, because, you know, at times when I haven't done that, and I've done it because, you know, I've wanted to, you know, fall into that people pleasing stage or what have you. It's like, oh yeah, it's been great for everyone else, but then it's sort of like drained myself. Or as you said before, Mel, like you touched on, you know, it affects you physically. And I've had that before, when suddenly it's gone, oh, by me not doing that, I've actually burdened myself with that, you know, physical ailments or what have you. And then it's made it so much harder, because then I've had to go through that whole lesson of having to rest and restore and get better to move on and learn that lesson. Going, oh, okay, yeah, I wasn't in alignment when I made those other choices. So yeah, definitely as you said before, that spiral.
Yeah, it is an experiment, and that's the thing. You could listen to other people talk, but you do need to allow yourself to use, as you said, gently experiment with yourself and find the path. Because I like what you said there about doing it for your own growth, and then if it does challenge someone else, I think that's something to do with this sort of spiritual, or this ecosystem we all exist in as humans together, that, you know, you could argue, well, is it for your good or not? But truly, I've talked about this before too, when you are working with your soul and you have the intention, then you're asking for what's for your highest good. And I know this from personal experience. If it's for my highest good, it is for the people around me. If that's a no or a yes, it's an opportunity for learning for them. But I cannot be like holding myself to some situation in order to keep things smooth. And that's not about I get all like bolshy or anything, or aggressive, or just, you know, like unplug and walk away into the silence. It's not even about those sorts of behaviors of handling difficult situations. It's even, maybe it feels good. You're just like, okay, bye, that's over now. You've signed the contract, you've left the job. But you have to trust that if there was some friction, it's not that you need to have everything be perfect, smooth lines, and it is for other people, but you need to, I guess, just consider others, but you also need to, at the end of the day, say, I've got to do this for me. And you can even do your forgiveness ritual later with Kuan Yin or one of the goddesses, of just say, if anything I have done has caused a seed of any kind of karmic something with someone, I ask for forgiveness and compassion for myself. But at the same time, and I don't know if it's just a thing for women or it's for spiritual, you know, people on their path, that we feel like maybe we need to be there, you know, and doing some of the hand holding a bit more. And ultimately, as you said, Nat, it can drain you. So you do need to be aware of all these things, and just start with the self-compassion, basically. Like, if you can't be your own sort of support team and it's just you, then how are you going to support anybody else? And how are you going to get through the challenges that life is going to bring you?
Yeah.
So
I was just going to say about that, Nat, because that's really resonant. I think, you know, our minds can again get in the way, I think, at times, or question things like, oh, I haven't been in this role very long, how will that be perceived? But spirit has a plan, though, you know, and you know, it'll highlight things in different ways. They're just so clever in how they do that, you know, whether it's in your body, or, you know, they'll definitely give you signs and synchronicities at times, so you actually know that this is, you know, the path to follow, regardless of what your mind's saying about all these things about how will this look, or how will people perceive that. Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, 100%. I think it is to learning how to quiet the mind and that inner critic, to be like, oh, how does this look? How's this perceived? Being like, you know what, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like, I know even when I've stayed in a role, really enjoyed it, time to leave, say it's been a couple of years, and you think, wow, that was a long stint. And someone will say, oh my God, that was, you know, it was really nice having you for that, you know, short and sweet moment. I'm like, short? What are you talking about? That's like 2 years. Like, damn, that's a long time for me. So like, everyone's got their different measuring sticks as well. So, you know, what one person may think is, they're like, wow, I've done this. It's someone else's, they're like, oh, that's just like a little minute. and it's fine. There's no right or wrong with either viewpoint. It is just the way it is. So those sort of little comments and things like that, I've really appreciated over the years, because it's reminded me just to be like, you know what? Everyone's got a different perception. And I think that's the key, is to actually be, and I've had to learn that just to be like, just, follow and trust those, whispers of the heart, so to speak, because they, it will, spirit will show you when it is time to go and when it is. And I've had times too when like, oh, I haven't enjoyed something, but I know that I've needed the best course of action is to just stay that bit longer for whatever reason. And there's always something. And I don't, I am a person that does like to know things, but it's like, and I won't. So I've had to learn to open up to that trust as well and go, okay, there is method in this madness. Just let's go. And then other times you get it, you just go, oh, you know what? That actually, I could have, I would have, whatever it is, or whether it's a relationship. Like, how many people go, oh, in hindsight, I would have broken up in that relationship 6 months ago or 6 years ago, whatever. But you do what you think's right at the time. Hindsight's always a great thing, isn't it? Isn't that what the saying is? But
yeah.
it's
Yeah, but it's interesting that we're all feeling that about alignment, that when I thought about it as a topic, it seems like sort of very, positive and like, wow, alignment, as you said, the purity and the bliss that comes from, let's call them the spiritual downloads. But I think what we're sort of all vibing with here, and it's not just because we're friends and there's that vibe, I think it's, the divine timing of in this talk now, that alignment is a bit more of, a soul lesson. And sometimes you might be used as the, like the tool or the moving part, for people or the situation that you're in, that it's not always just about you. It's timing for you. And when you move along, things will improve. But maybe it's not so bad for you, but there's a lot going on that needs to be done behind the scenes by your energy being part of a certain group. So it is really about letting yourself be that sort of fine frequency barometer. And I've talked before about the Harry Potter, like the luck potion that he takes when he just starts doing random crazy things and no one can understand it. But because he's taken the potion, he just does it. And that's sort of a joyful aspect of alignment, of, I think, what Melanie was meaning before, where you get the incredible, the universe gives you the signs and it does turn out to be quite positive. But then we're talking about almost the shadow side of it, where you know that the different blocks that keep coming up for you, all those hardships, there's a joyful sort of alignment message in that, of you realizing, oh, that difficulty is part of my, I say, sandpaper for my soul. So it's acknowledging those things. And the other thing I wanted to say about people from when you were speaking, Nat, was how we need to learn, and I have to personally do this, to understand certain people's compliments. That we're so used to dealing with people's, stuff and deflecting that. But sometimes people want to give you a compliment or say something about your path, whether they know it's spiritual or not. And you have to realize, oh, I'm going to take that and digest that, because from them, that was a compliment. But my mind, wants to take it a certain way. As you say, I've been here forever. Are you kidding me? But being able to accept what's in front of you, or to receive from someone else, when your mind has its own filter, as it always does, but your soul's like, pluck, thank you, like it accepts that as a kind of a merit badge or something. I don't know what I'm really saying there, but I think that's something else important for us.
I just want to say, can I just, I'm just, something's just come to me about alignment, like just thinking about what we've all talked about. Can you be more, I suppose, just thinking about my experience again, more attuned, you know what I mean? I think as time's gone on, I'm more attuned to misalignment versus alignment. I don't know how to explain that, but do you know what I mean? I think that's something
Yes.
that's come out of it for me. Just going, oh, I was actually definitely more attuned to things than I have been in the past. And I think that was a learning for me about attunement to alignment and misalignment, if that makes sense.
Yes. Thank you. And that's what I was thinking about, because you had shared with us where there were things in the past where your body would give you a message and you were in a role. You'd be like, no, it's okay, body, keep going. And you realize that had actually been too much. So I agree with you that it is through attunement, it's through experience that we then start to realize. And then what it means is the divine is almost saying, okay, you've done that heavy lifting now. You don't need to be in it for as long. Like, that's done your spiritual tempering and you learned, but now the difficulties maybe don't last in quite the same way, or they come up again. It's like, oh, different face, same situation, but you do find you move through it differently. And the reason you can do that is because of the heavy lifting you've been willing to do in the past. So I think you're absolutely right that the attunement, and hopefully for the rest of the life journey, doesn't mean it always gets easier, but you can have maybe even more of an acceptance of the alignment message and not so much of the ego going, well, okay, I get it, but grr, where you can be like, okay, I get it. Thank you.
Yeah. And I do think that as well, to add on to that, is that the more I know where I take the time in my practice, and whether that's, moving, meditation, breathwork, whatever, I feel I need at the time, then I find that I'm more attuned to what's I'm in alignment with and what's not in alignment within myself, because I'm a lot more grounded and within my body, and mindfulness, you mentioned before, Mel, as well, and things like that. So the more I'm in alignment, then the more my outside world, I'm in alignment with that, if I'm in alignment with my internal as well. So I find that's key for me.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that
Yeah.
is that energy of it, then it sort of draws to you what you need. And when you're faced with the situations where it's difficulty in a work situation or with other people, then because if you're able to come into alignment more, you can handle it in a way that has maybe more grace for you. But I just think it's hopefully helpful to people to understand that sometimes being in a difficulty, it doesn't mean that you failed or you shouldn't be there. It does have learning, and everything is interconnected. So it's either going to be ticking some box for you karmically, or just you're helping someone else in some way. And the only way you can know, am I in alignment, is to experiment with it. And when you find, in a way, the universe, that thing about, they say the universe closes a door but opens a window. I mean, some of these truisms, they're truisms for a reason. They might sound trite, but it's absolutely true that what Melanie was saying, the divine has a sense of humor almost, with certain steps. So they're like, they're holding the door shut and kind of laughing behind it to let you know, you think you know what you need, but if you can just trust in the unexpected and trust in the thing that seems like the worst gift ever, open this gift, what is this rubbish? Trust in that stuff, that it's leading you where you need to be, and it is the unexpected. But you have to have a strong sort of compass of yourself and a strong trust in yourself to say, well, when is this difficulty that needs to be, moved through? And I guess the main thing is, it's more likely it's going to be difficulty than just be perfection and beauty. And that's all kind of like we're talking about the behind the curtain stuff. So yeah, if we could just encourage people to stick with it when stuff gets difficult on the path. But also know that it doesn't have to be that way forever, but there's a lot of beauty in coming through the challenge.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. It's the beauty coming through the challenge and being easy on yourselves. And that's what I've had to learn, just to let up on myself sometimes. Sometimes there's no such thing as perfection. And I know sometimes I can be so hard on myself going, oh, I should have known better. I knew that wasn't right or whatever, but whatever. Sometimes you just, thinking that, going, oh no, that's just coming from a place of ego, or that's, no, I'm pretty sure this is, I'm on the right path. And you go, oh, no, actually, that wasn't just, for the soul. That was the universe actually putting up a brick wall for me. And I just kept going, oh, no, but I think it really is right, because that's what I wanted it to be. But, c'est la vie. We do the best we can. Sometimes we stuff it up and you just go, it's all part of the party.
I like that you said that you brought in perfection. That's right. It's like alignment is not perfection.
No.
And maybe it gets confused for that, but there's a rightness to it. And yeah, there's something about that. And I always think of alignment as being not like it's straight up and down, but it's like when you can get into that frequency, almost as though you're between you're buffeted by the wind, and then you get into that section and you realize, oh, this is where I need to be. And just going back to Melanie was talking about her situation at work. And one of the main things I had come up for me with alignment was, and I was praying, it was when I first stepped into going more to clinics, like about 10 years ago, to work with people. I'd been doing all online coaching to work with people and do my healings, and I'd been to different places and I was paying rent at places, and one of the places was so difficult for a myriad of reasons, and I would pray at that time to Archangel Uriel, and he'd be like, yes, great success, building solid foundations for success. And I thought it meant helping to turn that business around, be part of something. And it was just like my own inner success, because the drudgery and the difficulty of being there and the emotional difficulty and then doing the spiritual work and then all the other stuff, I realized pretty quickly that I was like on some incredible, what I want to say, like training course, like a really fast level training course, by being in this very difficult situation on the ground training. And the angels were like, well done, Laura. And on the ground, I was like, you kidding me? But it was really powerful. So I like that idea that it's not perfection, but it's about knowing there's something that you can't know now, and that the universe is ultimately, it wants to be on your side and help you. And if they do that through difficulty, it's still to help you.
Yeah.
It's not to make fun of you or, make you give up. They don't want that.
No, I really like that too, Nat, about the perfection, because as you were talking then, Laura, too, what came to me is that sometimes it might feel like it is out of alignment, especially for me. I just know if I'm pushed beyond my comfort zone, it starts to feel wobbly and, oh, is this, but actually Spirit is wanting me to move forward, to step into something that is probably most likely going, well, in past experiences has been aligned for me, but it's just felt wobbly because it's unfamiliar, or I'm just stepping into it. It feels quite new. So challenging me to practice some new skills or something like that, or show up and be seen, those sort of things as well. So just when you were talking then, that came through about alignment as well.
And you'll never know what you're capable of until you have that sort of knife edge of trust, of where you feel you're pushed. And it's not so much where you are pushing yourself in a hard way. It's when you're stretching yourself, I guess, into these uncomfortable spaces. And there is something about that on the spiritual path, you don't know what you're capable of until you let life kind of work with you and show you. And there's something so empowering about coming through a real difficulty and knowing you've done it with grace, and realizing that you've been, pushed into that. You've been given these weird little synchronicities, and there you are in this place that isn't that great, but it's so rich and nourishing for the soul. So there's definitely, a path there, just to say alignment is not perfection. I think Nat gave us the total tagline for that. All right, ladies. Well, is there anything else you want to say in this space? Anything that's come to you? Or, I mean, I talked about alignment, but I just like to, as we get to the end of the chat, just encapsulate for people, to encourage people. So is there anything you want to add here now? But thank you so much for being here with me. It's just a joy to do this thing.
Thank you. Been wonderful. Thank you.
It has. It's been fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
What a great topic.
I just appreciate being able to have that sharing for people that I know are doing the trenches work. And, I know and love you guys, and I just want to share that with other people wherever they're at on their path. So that's it for this episode, I think, of 10,000 Hours and Counting, the topic of alignment. I'm sure we could talk about that many other ways and many other spaces. But whenever we get into this space and we press record, stuff just happens, and whatever comes out, comes out. So again, thank you so much. It's the Aussie contingent here, and wishing you all a lot of blessings on the path, and may you have the courage and the grace within to keep facing what you know you need to face, and trust that things always shift and change, and Spirit is supporting you, but it doesn't have to be joyful and exciting and beautiful all the time. Sometimes the greatest gifts come from, transmuting the challenge. So thank you so much for joining me, and we will be back again another time with one of these episodes, and I'll be solo, but that's it for now. 10,000 Hours and Counting. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.